Greetings, Dr. Mark Winton here from the Department of Criminal Justice at the University of Central Florida, and in this video I'd like to talk about famous cold cases. Now, I'll start by defining a cold case. What is a cold case? And according to Byers and Dubois, published in 2017, they use the term, quote, to describe any criminal case which has not been cleared by arrest or prosecution. Typically, such cases are A, without any leads, or B, the suspect is known, but the case lacks the level of evidence to prove the person committed the crime. End of quote. And that's on page 369 in their article, Teaching About Cold Cases Experientially, Creating Meaningful Learning Experiences and Products, published in the Journal of Criminal Justice Education. It's a wonderful article if you're interested in getting a program in your department working with law enforcement agencies on cold case teams and trying to assist in resolving cold cases. Cold cases are very taxing on people that work in the criminal justice system that have cold cases, and not only physically but emotionally, and investigators who spend hours doing all they can to try to solve crimes may realize after the case is considered a cold case and there's no more leads and there's nothing much to do, that they still continue to think about the case. Years and years later, they may look for any leads or try to find out if any other crimes are being committed in other locations that might have some similarities. Cold cases are rough. And it would be interesting to see if we had, to look at some research on the effects of cold cases on those that work them. But I want to get back to revisiting making a crime of the century. Your authors have pointed out that there's a variety of factors that seem to lead to a famous crime, and they talk about things such as the location, the outrageousness, the offenders and victims, the details of the offense, and the mystery and the ambiguity of the case. And I also added factors such as the media, recent events, the novelty of the case, public opinion regarding the case, and technology. The case that I'd like to present as a famous cold case is the Zodiac. And the Zodiac, basically the Zodiac named himself the Zodiac. He killed 5 people in the San Francisco Bay Area between 1968 and 1969. Although he reported that he killed more, law enforcement could never validate that that was the case. He sent coded messages and letters to the local police department and newspaper, and also telephoned. A survivor was able to describe him, and I won't get into the description there, but he estimated his age to be around 35 to 45 years old, and we actually have drawing of the perpetrator. In one case, he wrote a message on the victim's car with a marker, and he left fingerprints, he left shoe prints, he left tire prints, he left his handwriting, and as possible, he licked envelopes and stamps. Whether or not he left DNA is a whole nother topic. But this was a very, this has been an ongoing case, and 50 plus years later, we still don't know who the Zodiac is. What was his motive? Will his identity ever be discovered? Will there be any new technology that might be used to help us? Will something be discovered when someone's going through boxes in someone's home, or someone meets someone who has some new information? We also may ask what was going on in Northern California during that time period, the late 60s. So you want to put that into the social context as well, what was going on in the nation. And also we can go back and look at what the forensic technology was like in the late 60s. Very, very, very different than today. And we know that over the years there have been multiple suspects, and there have also been books written, movies produced, groups organized, and websites available to discuss the Zodiac. I have somewhat of a personal connection to this case in that I was a kid growing up near that area where the Zodiac committed his crimes. And what I do remember is that I was able to go out into the wooded areas behind our house by myself or with friends and spend hours walking around, looking at deer, looking at snakes, looking at lizards, just having a great time outdoors. And then one day, abruptly, I wasn't allowed to go out anymore. And I wondered why. What was going on? And I was told that there was a bad man doing bad things. And soon I discovered there was a man in the area who was killing people. And if I went out by myself, I might get killed. I did sneak out and went back into the woods several times before it was discovered, and my parents supervised me a little more closely. And not long after, we moved. But I remember the fear that was generated about the risks that everyone had of being a victim of the Zodiac. And the adults were very fearful. If someone pulled in the driveway and pulled out, what was going on there? Was that people were very on edge. I remember that. But I wasn't able to put it all together in that young kid's mind I had till I thought about it much later. But how do we explain the continued interest with all the books, the movies, the groups, the websites I mentioned? And how do you feel about this case? Or what is your level of knowledge about this case? Are you familiar with this case? And do you believe it still is a very famous cold case? And this wraps up this video. Thank you.